All right. Hi, everyone. We are here with Max Levasseur. Hello, Max.
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing today?
We're doing well, and we're glad that you're here with us. Yeah, the goal of this session is to discuss how we can get recognized by recruiters. And Max, you are a recruiter at Activision Blizzard. We've all, if we're gamers here, we've probably played some games that Activision Blizzard has touched. So big names, and
Yes, yes.
And you have a long, recruiting background too, which we would love to hear more about.
Definitely. Currently, I'm a talent sourcer at Activision Blizzard, and I focus on diversity and veteran hiring initiatives. So it's super cool um, because I get to reach out to people in the underrepresented communities, and I reach out to veterans. So that's the super awesome thing about my job right now. Previously, I was in the Army. I spent 20 years in the Army. Uh, First, I started off as an HR professional, dealing with HR information systems. Did that for about 10 years, and then I went into Army recruiting, which was a lot of fun. Started in Miami, went to Orlando, and finished up in Washington, D.C. Throughout that time, I was a part of the community outreach. Um, I was second in command of the center, so
Wow.
planning out all the outreach and all those things was a part of my duties. And now I'm here at Activision Blizzard, and it's super awesome because it's a gaming company. Like it's Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, um, Candy Crush. So being able to work on these outstanding IPs has been exceptional. And then finding people, because most people this is like a passion for them. Like to work for a company like this, it's like a passion, like a dream. And to be here working in that dream job and helping people fulfill their dreams is super cool.
Very nice. Yeah, great, interesting job history, Martha says. I agree. Seems like Activision Blizzard is lucky to have you, with that experience that you're bringing to the table, so that's great. And yeah, it sounds like a really fulfilling role that you're in now, um, recruiting
Yes, definitely,
for those.
definitely.
And then you also kind of hinted yesterday on LinkedIn that there are some open roles that you're going to discuss a bit today as well. So for people here, if your dream is to work with Max, then it seems like you might have that opportunity. So
Yes, and I'm gonna put some of those jobs in the comments real quick.
okay, and we can discuss those a bit later too. As you all may or may not know, if you've been to these sessions before, I have some questions prepared, and then we'll get to all of your questions. There we go, curriculum manager and director of L&D. That sounds like a good one. So good stuff. We'll share those links again at the end when we discuss those open positions. So thank you, Max.
No
Um,
problem.
so my next question for you is what type of roles you recruit for, but it looks like there's quite the range.
Yeah, it ranges, and I think that's the awesome part about my specialty. It ranges from software engineers, product managers, production. I think I'm gonna do some art pretty soon. And then just being able to help out like where there's a need for like diverse candidates or veterans into the space, I jump in. My most recent project has been with Level Up U, which is a university that we're starting at Activision Blizzard to bring in software engineers who have beginner experience. So the class is mostly diverse. So that's why I was brought in on the project. But just ramping that project up and hearing more about Level Up U and the teachings and all those things is super impactful and awesome. So you can catch me anywhere at Activision Blizzard working on different roles. And if you can always reach out.
Okay, nice. So not just L&D or ID specific roles, but across the organization, it sounds like.
Yes, correct. If I don't work on the role, I'll point you in the right direction or get you in contact with somebody who can work on that role.
Okay, nice. Sounds like, yeah. So on LinkedIn, everyone here is welcome to connect with you as well. It sounds like.
Yes, of course. Of course.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and reach
Good,
out.
good. Okay, so most people here are in like the ID L&D space. I would say most people here are, when they are looking for roles, they're like individual contributor, like instructional design roles. So but I know some of this stuff will apply across roles. So The next question I have for you is what you look for when reviewing a resume.
When reviewing a resume, normally I look for keywords. Resume, LinkedIn, there's certain keywords that stick out that the hiring manager is looking for or the talent professional is looking for. Those words put you at the top of the profile. Skills are also something that I look towards. If you have certain skill sets, and it all varies based on the job. So if we take the curriculum manager, for instance, we'll look for somebody who has a video game or technical background. That'd be nice. Like that'd be like the first thing that I look for when I'm looking at instructional designers profiles. Um, the softwares that they work with and skills, like if they work with a LMS, like Sabre or anything like that, that'll stick out. The years of experience to stick out. Those are the keywords that like I hone in on, and takes me about once I build that keyword list, takes me about 30 to 60 seconds to look at a resume and find out if that person's a match for what we're looking for at the time.
Wow, okay. So based on the open role, you build the keyword list from that, and then and then when you kind of compare resumes and LinkedIn profiles to that keyword list you've built. 30 to 60
Correct.
seconds, you can make a pretty good call about whether or not they might be a good fit.
Yes, correct. Because certain things they might have the years of experience, but no, they never worked with any of those LMSs, learning management software systems. So there might be a mismatch there. It could be, oh, I just saw a question. I always get like scattered brain by questions. I probably need to
It's
remove this
okay.
from my
We can
screen.
field some after you finish what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Um, but after I look at it, it's just basically drilling down into making sure that they're a complete match and it's what the hiring manager's looking for.
Okay, good. And then Hiana's question is, can we trust that the job post is going to include these keywords?
Not all the time, because it so when you have an intake meeting and giving you insight into like recruiting, we get different things from the hiring manager that might not be in the job description. Most things are in the job description, and then there's certain must-haves that are like, I need this. It states it in the job description. I need this right here. Um, then you have like nice to haves, and those aren't requirements. So basically, you use those things to fill the perfect candidate or the best candidate. So they might have the nice haves, but not the requirements. So that'll push a candidate to the top of the list and have the hiring manager look at them and be like, hey, let me get some feedback on this person because those must haves we're not finding right now. Um, when you look at a field, and we're doing a class on LinkedIn Insight. Basically, you can just pull up how many professionals fit that what you're looking for under that requirements. So as a talent sourcer, you have to look outside of that to say, hey, it's only 100 candidates that fit what you want. So now we're going to have to extend that search a little bit further out and find something else. If you haven't, you're not able to connect with these 100 candidates. If these 100 candidates didn't apply, they're not interested in the job. So we have to reach out to them and find out why they're not interested. What's stopping them from taking this role?
Okay, I see. So all of the responsibilities might be there, all of the yeah, all of the requirements might be there in the listing, but you as the recruiter or the hiring manager, they'll know these ones are like the most important or these are the must-haves. So
Correct.
not every bullet point in that job listing essentially is like created equal. Yeah.
No, and that's the interesting thing about sourcing. Like everything's not created equal. The job descriptions are great, and they're a basis, and you shouldn't be turned down because of the keywords. The keywords won't get you out of it, but what happens is that job description fills people to apply. I think for these roles, I think they had like 150 to 200 people apply for the role. With that number of people applying, the recruiter goes through those resumes. They find out who should we talk to, and then after that, it's no more interest. So then they call in like a talent sourcer to go out and find more people to
Mm.
put into that rec. So it'll be a more personal conversation where I'll be like, hey, I see that you work at this company. Are you interested in moving over to Activision Blizzard in this role? You have everything that we're looking for. And then the conversation goes from there. And then you end up building a relationship because this might not be the time. They might love where they're working at. They might be working on a special project or certain curriculum that they got off the ground and that they plan on pushing forward and they want to see it to its end. So it might not be the time for that person. And you can go back to the hiring manager and say, "Hey, I got the perfect candidate, but they're not open for 6 months." You know what I'm saying? Like in
Yeah.
6 months, they might be open to this job. I don't know if you have 6 months to wait. I don't know if the person under them can do the job. Like the person that will be reporting to them, can they do the job for 6 months until they get here? And then that's something that the hiring manager has to take into consideration.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so it's not just the people that are putting their names in the hat. You or the recruiting team or the talent sourcing team is also going out and looking for people who may not have applied, but who may be a perfect fit for the role.
Correct.
I see.
And that's the fun thing about being a talent sourcer. Um,
Yeah,
I think that's like my favorite part of the job. I get to go look for people that might not be looking for an opportunity, and then this is a perfect opportunity for them.
I see. Nice. Yeah, I could see how that would be rewarding, finding that like perfect fit and then bringing them on board and seeing them do well in the role. So I can see how that would be very fun. I see more great questions coming in the chat. If you can, go ahead and use that Q&A tab so that people could vote on the ones they'd like to see answered. We can pick up a couple as we go, but yeah, we want to make sure that the ones you all most want to see answered are getting answered. All right. I think we can dive into this next question I have for you. What role does a portfolio play when you're reviewing an application? If you're spending 60 seconds on a resume, do you have time for the portfolio?
The portfolio really doesn't come into play because I'm not a subject matter expert. Like sometimes recruiters are subject matter experts, but
Yeah.
me as a talent sourcer, I'm not a subject matter expert when it comes to that. Especially in my role because it's really niche. It's like diversity and veterans.
Mm,
Now,
yeah.
say for instance, we had a recruiter that specializes in instructional design and L&D. That person would be more of a subject matter expert because they get those roles coming in. So they would take the time to look at a profile and they know how to break down a profile really fast. Me, my goal is to like push the candidate to the recruiter and be like, "Hey, I think this person's a fit. Check out their profile." And then they'll take that time, like, and I'm gonna use production because these are my first L&D roles that I'm helping source for. And it's kind of like a side project because I'm doing this. And I was like, I need to know more about instructional design and L&D. So they told me more about it. Uh, and I was so happy to be working on that level up view project. So it opened the door for me to ask more questions. But we'll take production. Producers have profiles and level designers have profiles. I'll look at it. To me, all of it looks cool because it's something that I can't do. That's that's the first thing. So I'm gonna be like, "Oh, their profile looks cool." Then I'll forward it to a professional that this is what they do. They know what they're looking at. They'll look at it and break it down.
Mm,
The profile that I sent yesterday, and this is production. Basically, it was like, "Hey, this is a great profile. He can do everything that we're looking for." The other guy, he had similar stuff on his profile, but it was more like, "Oh, he can do mobile." Like he could look at the profile and tell the difference between mobile and console and mobile. They could do everything. Like it's a
mm.
difference between those profiles. I think the same probably would come with instructional design based on how you're writing curriculum and things like that, that they can look at that profile and be like, "Oh, this is a plan that we can stick to and move forward with."
Okay, I see. So you're not necessarily reviewing these portfolios. You're sending them to someone who has that subject matter expertise and can make more sense of like what they're looking at because they're working in that they're working as an instructional designer or in the curriculum development space. That makes sense.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so I guess the portfolio with this system, someone reviews it after that like first pass where you're looking over the keywords.
Correct. After I look over the keywords, I'll send it forward, basically trying to figure out if this person's a match. If I hear that they're a match, then I'll reach back out to them and say, "Hey, somebody's interested in talking to you." Usually within 2 weeks, you'll have somebody reach out and talk to you about it.
Okay. Okay, great. But if you don't pass that like keyword check, like if you review this one of these resumes in 30 to 60 seconds and it's like they don't seem like they'd be a great fit, no one's going to be looking at that person's portfolio website.
Not unless they apply. Yeah.
True. Okay, I see.
And then if they apply, like, it's more of the top candidates get pushed to the top. Like,
Okay.
and not in a way, like the computer has AI. So like a lot of recruiting has taken on the AI systems, and the AI system tells you who's the top candidate, like based on the skills and all that stuff. Once again, back to the keywords and skills and what
Yeah.
you're looking for in that candidate. It'll push those people with all those things to the top. It'll be and the AI is so smart that it will translate that data. Like say for instance, it's not in corporate, say for instance you've worked in the military or you've worked in higher education, it'll be able to translate that data and be like, hey, this person's good, they don't have that specific thing, but they're close enough to it where you should be able to talk to them. So
Okay.
AI is getting a lot smarter and I love it.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I could see how that would make your job a bit, more streamlined. Help help do some of that initial work. Um, so I guess, yeah, where do referrals come into play with that? I know, there's a
um
common conversation around, like, beat the ATS by getting a referral, make it to the top of the pile. Yeah.
referrals are good because at the end of the day you can talk to that hiring manager. You know, you have a personal connection 9 times out of 10 with somebody in that company. So you can reach out on that person's behalf, and that's how it gets pushed to the top of the pile. Like it's not more of like the referral. It'll say in the system that it was a referral, but that person who's referring you needs to take that extra step and reach out to I need to mute this. Um, they need to reach out to the hiring manager or that recruiter and say, "Hey, my friend or my associate or I have a referral for this role." And then when they reach out, that pushes them to the top. Because if you call me, like Devlin, if you worked at Activision and you call me and say, hey, I got an instructional designer, I trust you because this is your thing. Like they'll move to the top. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Networking is important and building
Yeah.
relationships is the most important thing I think in this job. You got to have the skills, but like that relationship building is so important and so impactful.
Yeah, and we see that happen time and time again in people looking for roles, like the power of these referrals and the power of networking. And yeah, it always happens when it happens kind of organically. Like people are meeting in these like social platforms or whatever it is, building that relationship. And then one person's looking for a role. The person they were networking with is like, hey, we have an open role. Like we need another instructional designer or learning experience designer or whatever it is. So we see that happen time and time again. So nice to know that that still holds. Maybe nice to know, maybe that's I mean, how do you all feel about it here? I know some people get, kind of intimidated by networking or they, like, don't, like, get it or they feel icky about it. Yeah.
I I feel like networking, it may be difficult, but the thing is you know somebody. And when you know somebody, I think it's very important and impactful to reach out to that person. And I know it might feel awkward at first, but once you do it one time and you do it 2 times, that 3rd time is usually the charm where you're like, all right, I can talk to this person. I can because it's the same conversation. It's more like, hey, me and you know each other from this. I see you work at this company. I see this role online. Could you get me more information about it? It feels like you're asking for a favor and you owe them something, but really it's not a favor to them because they work at the company. It's too simple for them to reach out and talk to people like in that company. Now, if the person doesn't reach out or reach back out to you with some information, you lost nothing in the fact. But if they say, yes, I talked to the person who's the hiring manager, look at all that you've gained. So you're
Mm.
already at a no. And this is how I tell my like everybody that deals with networking with me, you're already at a no. So what does it hurt for you to ask that person a question that might turn into a yes and open up numerous opportunities?
Yeah, I see. So, yeah, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? So you're saying
Yeah,
just, like, leading. Yeah.
you're already at the worst that could happen because you're not take you miss every shot that you don't take.
Yeah,
So
like, you're saying, like, it couldn't hurt to ask. I've heard, like, closed mouths don't get fed. I like
yeah,
that one.
I think those all are important in it. Like it's you have to ask those questions. You have to like step out of your shell sometimes and
Yeah.
like speak to people that you normally wouldn't speak to or speak to people that you haven't reached out to in a while. It's people that you've worked with in the past that's gone on to do other things in their lives, and they're in a position where they can help you, and they will help you if you ask. But if you don't ask, they probably won't. They don't even know that you need help. And I think
Yeah.
that's super important because nobody knows what you need. Um, and I think everybody in this world is willing to help. There's some people out there that's not willing to help, but you probably should know those people already. And it's still worth it to ask because they may have changed. Time changes people.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's what I'll say.
Yeah, so you're saying not just focusing on, like, building new relationships, but also tapping into ones that that you already have, like, people
Yes.
may already be willing to help you because they already do know you.
Correct. It is most of the time we focus on building new relationships, which is
Yeah.
super awkward. But we have a network of people that we've already talked to, we've already worked with before that we just haven't talked to since they left. And it's not because of you didn't like them or they didn't like you. It's because life moves so fast. And with life moving fast, we just forget about things and it gets out of season, but that doesn't mean that that person forgot about you or you forgot about them. So just reaching out, building that relationship, rebuilding the bridge because now you're asking for something and it's not like your world depends on it if you get it. You know what I'm saying? Like it'd
Yeah.
be great to have this, but it's not like, "Oh, thanks for trying." You know what I'm saying? And not in a bad way, but I'm glad I reconnected with you because in the future still, you might still can use them or they might still be able to use you for something where you're able to like help each other and just build that community. Like having a community is very important, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we see happening a lot. Yeah, people helping one another. Yeah, I help you today, maybe you help me tomorrow, like that kind of yeah, the community aspect. Think we can all
Yep.
connect with that, all the people who are here today. So, catching up on the chat, I think there may have been a little bit of confusion, or maybe we just want some clarification. But the 60-second resume glance, is it more important than the portfolio and getting seen by a hiring manager? Seems, from what I understand, it seems like initially that glance is going to kind of decide would you even be a possible good fit for this role. If not, it sounds like people aren't going to spend time reviewing the portfolio. If it does seem like you could be a good fit for the portfolio, or for the role, then it gets passed along to a subject matter expert or hiring manager who kind of knows more about what you'd be doing, and then the portfolio gets reviewed.
Yes, the latter. The 30 to 60-second glance, it sucks because it's the reality of like being a sourcer, being a recruiter,
Yeah.
because you can't spend a lot of time looking at things and you know what you're looking for in a search. And sometimes, and this is why it's important to build relationships because your LinkedIn profile might not have, and sometimes LinkedIn profiles that have nothing on them will get pushed to the top, which is interesting because we need to know more about you. Like something's missing. So you don't have any bullets in your LinkedIn profile. It gives me the opportunity to reach out to you and be like, hey, what's going on? What have you done? You pull up in the search, but you don't have anything here. Fill in the details. And then other times it's like people get caught up on it, but it's not the biggest thing. It's just that role might not have been for you. And that's why you need that network of people to reach out to the company so that they can know that you're interested in it and that you're a fit for it.
Yeah, yeah, it seems like networking is a great way to get more than that 30 to 60-second consideration. So, I think if nothing else, it's kind of emphasizing the importance of that. We have a question. I mean, I guess networking, if it is like meeting new people, Beth is curious. Do you feel like an important part of networking requires being active on social media, such as TikTok or Instagram?
Not really. Networking is about finding the people that work in certain locations. All this information, most of this information is public knowledge. Um, Social media might help you get to that ends, but Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, those things might help you get seen by somebody who's looking for something
Mm,
because they're used for searches too. So the more you post on LinkedIn, the more you get seen. And if you're posting about like somebody in your community, Devlin, the more they post and the more people in your community that like it, the more likely I am to see it. If I'm a hiring manager for instructional design that follows your community or follows you, then I get to see that information because Devlin liked it. Somebody else in my community liked it. So now I know the name. The name, and we used to say this with Army recruiting. It takes 6 impressions before somebody actually thinks about doing something. So the more they see your name, the more likely they are to feel like they know you, even though they don't. It's just how our brains work based on sales and recruiting. Um, so you stick out to somebody the more you are engaged on those communities, but that's not the only way to get recognized.
Yeah. Yeah, we see that happen, and then too when because we have hiring, managers or potential clients, like, reach out to me or, like, other people in the community who aren't available, and then we'll kinda talk to each other. It's like, "Oh, do you know someone looking for freelance opportunities right now? Oh, do you know someone interested in a full-time role here?" So, yeah, it's like, it doesn't just happen directly with the hiring manager, but it can also be, like, levels removed where, like, yeah, other people are kind of referring you to other people, and you're
Yep.
kind of finding your way there, so but I guess that's not like a super sure. I mean, I know that can be like a longer approach because it does depend on like the right person kind of seeing your post like at the right time, maybe. You kind of also mentioned like some direct outreach, it sounds like just reaching out
Direct
to people
outreach.
directly. Yeah.
Yeah, reaching out to people directly. And the way that I went about doing that when I was going through the hiring process, it's just a simple message saying, "Hey, I'm interested in your company. I see that we share a connection through somebody else. We have a mutual connection." Or if you don't have a mutual connection, maybe something in your careers line up, like y'all went to the same college, or your son went to that college. Anything that connects people. A lot of time people overthink it. A cousin, a daughter, niece, whatever, went to this college, so it'd be great to talk to you for 5 to 10 minutes about this role. It's only 5 to 10 minutes. It's not like somebody's taking a lot of time out of their day to speak to somebody for 5 to 10 minutes. So when you do that initial request, when it's like a cold outreach, that way the other person on the other end feels more inclined to do it. They're like, "Oh, I could talk to this person for 10 minutes or 5 minutes." And the 5 minutes ends up turning into 30 minutes. It's just the way the brain works. Like they might block you off for 5 minutes, but they're not putting anything else in that time space within that 5 minutes, like within a 30-minute window. So the conversation usually goes on longer. Some people are serious and about their time, so they'll get off when that 5 minute mark ends. But most
Yeah.
people end up holding that conversation for 30 minutes because they have nothing else after it.
I see. So just kind of opening the door, trying to get on a call with someone. Maybe it's more like an informational interview, like getting to know them, asking about the role. Um, Keeping it pretty low commitment, 5 minutes, and then if the conversation's going well, it sounds like it can often last longer.
Correct. Yep. Or they set up a follow-up conversation. Like if they only really had 5 minutes, they'll be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I want to talk to you longer about this," and they'll set up that call. And even if it doesn't land you a position, it puts you in that person's mind that, "Oh, this was a great person to talk to. I'll think about them for other roles, or I'll think about them like I might not have anything at this company that you fit for right now, but it's something somewhere else that you might be a fit for."
Okay, nice. So that is probably more direct than a lot of people are, like, familiar with, but, like, you are asking in the first message, like, "Let's hop on a call." Doesn't need to be for an hour. Let's hop on for a few minutes, but, like, from the very first message, you're basically saying, "Let's hop on a call and talk about this if you can."
Yep.
Nice. And then I imagine, yeah, like the success rate, like we probably shouldn't expect every single person to that we ask to hop on a call with us. Like it probably is somewhat of a numbers game. um, yeah. Like do you have or is that or in your experience are most people hopping on the calls?
Most people hop on the calls. Like
Nice.
it's not me and my colleague take calls all day long just from veterans. Based on my position, veterans reach out and
Yeah.
no issues at all. Like they'll reach out, say something. Sometimes they give me a long bio and I don't even read that. Like I read like the last few seconds of it and not a knock on their long bio or their long story. I'm just like, what's the point of this message? And then I
Yeah.
find it and then I'm like, oh, they want to talk. And then I'll send them a calendar invite or I'll surface them to Federati, which is like a mentoring thing that has my time blocked already on the calendar, so
Yeah.
they can pick a space and they get like an hour long conversation through Federati. So
Nice.
instead of like having the 5 to 10 minute conversation, they get that hour long conversation with me if they sign up through Veterati. So it's a couple
Okay.
of options, and then we could go through. So we're always taking calls as talent sources. Like we'll
Okay,
stay
nice.
on the
So
phone, talk to people, help them figure out where they want to be and how they can land there.
okay, so is that who you recommend, or that's who you're suggesting maybe people reach out to, or talent sourcers, recruiters, hiring managers even?
I suggest you reach out to anybody at the
Anyone,
company.
okay, good. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
anybody at the company that you have a connection with, because
Yeah,
it's all about building that relationship. It's not it seems weird, but it's not as weird as you think it is. Because most people want to help people.
yeah,
It's not the latter. And a lot of times you get in your headspace and feel like, oh, they're not gonna want to talk to me because I don't have what they're looking for, or I seem weird reaching out to them. Um, I think my time as an army recruiter might have prepped me for this because I
yeah,
just talked to a whole bunch of people and I know I'm gonna get a whole bunch of no's or somebody not responding to me. And I don't take it as a shot at my ego or confidence level
yeah,
because they said no, because like I said before, I was already at a no before I talked to you. So my goal is to get to a yes. And it's not to get to a yes with you because I'm sending this message to 100 people. Or I'm talking to 100 people. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? My goal is to get to a yes with one of them.
yeah,
And then maybe I change my messaging. When I change my messaging, I get to 10. I change it a little bit more. I get to 20. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
those are the goals that I'm trying to reach. It's not that I'm trying to reach all 100. And you might feel like, oh, I'm spamming people. Mm, either they're going to read it, they're going to respond, or they're not. And it's not to be a knock on you.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of times as people, we usually get into ourselves and we start analyzing it afterwards. Like, oh, it must have been something on my profile that they didn't like. Nah, they was probably busy and they just ignored it. Or they don't even
yeah,
use LinkedIn. And you've already built this wall up where you've defeated yourself. And the goal is not for you to defeat yourself, it's to keep pushing for opportunities because your goal is that you want to land somewhere where you can make an impact. And the only
yeah.
way that you can land in those spots is by reaching out to more people because it'll help you get into that space that you want to be in. That's how I feel.
That's good. I think that resonated with a lot of people. I saw a lot of, thumbs up emojis coming up on the
Yeah.
screen, but
Yeah.
but yeah, that seems like, yeah, it's a very active approach to, like, networking and trying to land those opportunities, so that's a great message to spread. I think it's going to help some people here who are currently looking, so
Yeah. I hope
good
I
s
help people. That's my goal every day.
I'd say
Help
so.
somebody and learn something new.
Is this helpful for you all? Let's get some more of those thumbs up emojis. Looks like a yes to me.
Yeah.
Um, Very nice. Okay, cool. So we still have some time. We still have some time with you all. I have a couple more questions. I see we have a question from Caroline about cover letters. I know that's a common thing people wonder about.
Cover letters are good. They're not bad, but make sure your cover letter is written well, because it could
True.
be the thing that throws you out. Um, so, uh, and that's the interesting thing about cover letters. It could make you or break you. And if it's not like if it has grammatical errors, things like that in there, that might be an issue. But it's the thing that could take you over the top because you're able to give a snapshot of who you are and why you want this role and what makes you stand out. And that can be written in a cover letter. And most hiring managers read those.
Okay,
Recruiters
nice.
sometimes, but they will read them. It's not like a knock. I think that it's good having them, but like I said, make sure that it's good to go because some people aren't talkers. They can't get all their thoughts out during an interview. They can't show their true passion and they're writers. And in a field like instructional design, where you might end up being a writer of curriculum, it is a good place to show those writing skills and show that passion that you have for helping people learn and helping build curriculum and seeing that spark in kids' eyes or adults' eyes when they finally get it. When you see a staff of managers end up learning how to manage their people correctly because before it was inefficient. Now they're effective. Like all those things matter. And being able to write it on the paper is pretty good because some people can't spell it out.
Good point. Yeah, that sounds like portfolios too. Like if it's a really, really bad portfolio, it might do more harm than good. Seems like it's the same way with like cover letters. Yeah, it's like if you're going to
Yeah.
do it, make sure it's well written,
Make
compelling.
sure people proofread it. It
Yep.
like it don't sell yourself short when you do the cover letter. Make sure you have it proofread and somebody else sees it. Make sure that your thoughts, because me, when I write stuff, I'm always missing words because my brain's moving so fast and I just think that it's right. And then I just send it. And then my wife goes and looks at my Facebook post and be like, are you smart or dumb? I know you're smart, but this makes you look dumb. And I'd be like, oh, I missed the word. You see the word? You knew what I was trying to say. And it's too late. Everybody's seen it at that point. And then they start judging you based off of that. And you don't want that to be the judgment if you're a rock star and you just missed one word and it made you look unrock starish.
Yeah, great analogy there.
Yeah.
That's funny. Um, well, how important are certificates or certifications? That's another common question. Um,
I think certificates and certifications are important. Sometimes, like especially with these systems, like these learning systems, like if you're using Saba and you're certified in Saba, I think that's a good thing. But some people are certified in things and never really used them. Which,
mm,
take for instance me, I'm certified in Adobe Creative Suite. Never, like, I know how to use it kind of, but I'm no professional. But
yeah,
I could put that on my resume, and then if somebody start asking me questions about it, I'm shooting in the dark. Meanwhile, somebody who doesn't have the certification that's like an ultra user, they can talk about it all day. So where does that certification land me? The
yeah,
certification was good for me to put on a resume, but I wasn't able to talk about how I could use the system. When a person without the certification was able to talk about how they could use the system. So if you have a certification, basically what I'm saying is know the system that you had the certification in and know what you're talking about with that certification. Um, and make sure it relates to that job somewhere. Uh, Far too often, project managers get project PMP certifications, but that doesn't matter if you can't use Asana or Jira or like the systems that they use for project management. If you don't know anything about them, like the PMP is cool, but how does it help?
yeah. So it seems like you're saying it's more about like the practical skills. If you're certified or have a certificate for the practical skill that you can put to practice, great. But it's really about the skills that you can bring to the table.
Correct, because it'd move you to the top of the list with a certification without a shadow of a doubt because some people look for
Okay.
certifications. But then when you get to the interview and you're not able to talk about it, that's where you wash out.
Mm,
So it's just important. And I've seen it too many times, like, and that's why I bring it up.
yeah.
And the number one thing is PMP. Like that's the number one certification that I see people have. And then you be like, hey, so tell me about this software that you use. And they're like, oh,
What's that?
I don't
Yeah.
use no soft. And then it's like, okay, well, have a nice day and moving on to the next person
I
because
see.
it's important to have the certification, but know about the software and know. And even if you don't know about the software and you use something else, being able to go look at that software before the interview or beforehand and talk about the software that you used previously and the similarities with this software that the company wants to use.
Yeah.
Like I know about HR information systems. All of them are pretty much the same. Don't have any certifications in them, but I'm able to look at like whatever HR information system that's being used at a company and being able to relate it to what I've used previously. So all these systems are pretty much cookie cutter. It's some features that's different that make it better. And you can even say that. I wonder what makes Jira better than this. And then that leads to a conversation because now you're trying to figure out more about that system and it's like it shows your willingness to learn.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there are many similarities in like the ID space. It's like if you know one e-learning authoring tool, a team might use another. If you can help bridge that gap and explain this is the tool I'm familiar with. It's very here's how it's similar to that one. I could see how that would go a long way.
Yeah,
And
and
building
it
people's
bridges the gaps and it
yep.
shows that you took time to prepare for the interview. A lot of times people walk into interviews not prepared, and that shows that you actually took time because and that goes back to those conversations with people that work in the company. Like if you reach out to somebody working in the company for like 5 to 10 minute conversation, you can ask them these questions like, what
Mhm.
kind of system you use? How does the process normally look here? So you're preparing for an interview, you're preparing for a role, and then you're able to speak that in the interview. So you know what this company's kind of looking for because of your previous conversations with different colleagues of theirs.
Okay, and that was one of the other questions I had for you is like, how do we do this preparation? How do we research these companies or roles? And it seems like you have, I mean, you've been mentioning this very like person first approach. Like, try to talk to people, try to get on calls with people in the company. That's going to be your number one source of information. It sounds like.
That's the number one source of information because people tell you everything. Uh,
Yeah.
not not willingly, or they tell me anything. I don't know if it works for everybody, but like the more you ask questions, the more people tell you. And most of the things about a company, like if you look at the softwares, most companies have sponsorship with those companies. So like if you go to Eightfold, and that's the AI system that we use, when it says companies who use Eightfold, our company's name is going to show up there. Like
Mm,
so the software will tell you who uses that product because the way that they get more people to use their product is telling other people that this is an industry leading product. So by showing other companies that use it and used it successfully, that keeps their name relevant. So you can look there. Where else? LinkedIn, probably. Like if you go to different forums, you can see who the speakers are for these companies that have software and things like that. And that's the way that you can learn. Because like if you go to like a conference for Eightfold, you'll see somebody from our company spoke there.
mm,
So of course we've used it, and you can see the other companies that use it, just like Workforce, like or Salesforce. Like
yeah.
the people who speak at those conferences, that the industry leaders in Workforce or Salesforce, aren't strictly from Workforce or Salesforce. They're from companies who use the software. So now you can say, "Oh, this company uses that software. Let me reach out to them, that person," because you could say, "Hey, I watched your speech on this." And that's the other thing about reaching out to people. Like if they have a speech somewhere or they talked about something somewhere, like if somebody says, "Hey, I saw you on Devlin's YouTube channel," I'm gonna be in glamour. I'm gonna be like, "Oh, for real? You saw me on Devlin's YouTube channel?" I'm gonna be already excited. It pumps into my ego. So of course I'm gonna talk to you. But some people like in that, and it's not a gimmick, but that's just the truth. Like if you know a little bit about me and you know where I'm at and you've watched videos with me on them, like I'm more open to have a conversation with you. And that's the same with everybody in this world. And
Yeah.
it's crazy. And that's how I open the door to a lot of conversations. Like even when I'm sourcing candidates, I'll check out what they've produced on YouTube because sometimes LinkedIn shows you like their YouTube videos. I'll take 30 seconds, watch their YouTube video, pull a question out of that and be like, "Hey, I watched a YouTube video on this. I had this question. It was a very insightful conversation that you had with this person." And it shows that you actually took the time to find out more about me. And that person, 9 times out of 10, would reply to my email when I send it to them. They'll be like, "Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed my conversation. I'm not looking for a job right now. I'm currently happy where I'm at." They still responded. Most of the times they'll respond.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that goes a long way too, just speaking on that. Yeah, the because I get a a lot of like outreach or messages, and a lot of it does seem kind of spammy, like it could be sent to 20 other people. But the ones that do mention, oh yeah, I saw your content, I've been following your YouTube content, great video about this. Definitely yeah, I give more attention to it or respond and thank them at the very least. So
see,
good point.
even
Yeah.
works on Devlin.
Like you said, it probably works with everyone. Like I know some people when they're researching roles or people to reach out to, they like find their like blogs, like personal blogs, professional blogs, and they kind of yeah, mention content they've seen on there. So yeah, that seems like yeah, see what they're producing, what they're putting out there to the world and take a little bit of time at least to engage with it or see what they're all about.
Yeah,
Good
that's
suggestion.
definite.
I see some people in the chat were saying they literally just sent you that message like before you mentioned it. So
That's awesome. So
yeah.
I'm probably gonna respond and be like, "Oh, they watched me on Devlin," even though they said it in the comments.
Yeah. Carrie and Marie Noel. Okay, I think the last question I have for you is if we want to hear more about those open roles, the open
Okay,
L&D roles you
cool,
have.
cool, cool. All right, so we'll start with the curriculum. All right, let me get my list up. I gotta get my screen right now. Says I'm gonna talk about these roles. Do I need to post them in the chat again?
Um,
Is it one of
I guess
those?
it couldn't hurt. Yeah, now that
Okay.
we're gonna talk about them more, and we'll kind of we'll link them beneath the YouTube video too when this replay goes live.
Okay, cool.
Nathan, if you're here, can you grab those links?
Control C, comments, put them here. Boom. That's the first two. And hold on, I don't think it gives the whole title for the first one, or does it?
Oh,
It
curriculum
does.
manager, learning and oh, so
So
these
the
are
second
oh,
one doesn't give you the whole link. So
mm.
I'm gonna post them one by one.
But this is cool. It seems like it's going to be to help build that level up university you mentioned earlier.
Yep, the
That's
first one is
exciting.
to help build the Level Up University. And then the other ones are to build. Yep, I noticed that the second link didn't work, so I posted it again. So there we go. All right, cool. Um, so we'll talk about the curriculum manager first. The curriculum manager is going to build LLU. That's their specific goal. LLU is very, very unique. We started off with software engineers. We plan on going into all the critical job series at the company. So we're going to go into art. We're going to probably go into production. We're going to go into UX design and UI interface. So
Nice.
what you'll be doing as that curriculum manager is being able to work on multiple different disciplines. Uh, we don't know what the classes will be having, but someone who's cool and talks in different areas. So you'll be able to talk in different areas and work in different spaces, and be comfortable working with other hiring managers, finding out what they need, what they would want to see a person in production have, what a person would, and it's your strategically thinking from end to end. Level Up use a 12-week program, so it's 12 weeks, and they bring people in to get the user, well, the candidate in that cohort up to speed. So it's
Mm.
very interesting because you come in as a full-time person because you have the soft skills to get you there, but you don't have them in gaming. And I think that's the hindrance, especially for a diverse community, to get people into gaming is you have to have gaming experience, and most people don't have gaming experience. We just did a search, like in my call right before this, where we did an insight and we looked at software engineers with graphic design. It's less than 600 in the US, North America. So you only have 600 people who can do the skill. So when a hiring manager asks for a person who can do that skill, it's kind of hard to find that person. So Level Up U provides that opportunity to bring people in who have the soft skills. They might be a software engineer, they might have a little bit of graphic design, but it's in education. And then we're going to teach them a course to bring them up to speed in gaming.
Nice.
Yeah. Uh, and then the senior manager role, you'll be a business partner. So it's kind of like they're going to have two of those, I think, if I'm not mistaken. One that works for Activision and one that works for Blizzard. I think they'll have another one that works for King eventually. And then you'll talk to the key franchise stakeholders. Um, the executive producer for Call of Duty, those people. The executive producer for unannounced projects over at Blizzard. You'll be talking to EPs and leaders that work on World of Warcraft and building out educational. Hold up, let me make sure I say this right. You'll be building out like the coursework for telling those stories. You know what I'm saying? For learning. So you're going to add that twist where it has probably characters from World of Warcraft in it, or you're going to add the twist where you can use characters from Call of Duty to teach those lessons because it's something that you work at Activision, you probably like Call of Duty or you know about it, so you know the characters, and you'll be able to give that piece while building an educational platform and probably using those characters to build that learning.
Sounds fun,
Uh,
yeah, being able to use that IP in your projects.
and then what's the
Yeah.
last one? I think so. I
The
just talked about the
director.
senior.
The
All right, the
director of
director.
L&D.
The director of L&D. I had one key thing. What was that? All right, director of L&D. You're scaling a global project. So the project is global. When you're at our company, we have organizations all over the world. We have Activision Shanghai, we have King in Europe, we have Activision in Stockholm, Blizzard's in Irvine, we have studios thrown all over the US and all over the world. So building a learning platform that's scalable and global. That's one of the most important things. They want somebody with a high level project management in the learning space, or corporate, university, schools, or the military.
Yeah.
Uh, the point of contacts, you'll be working with the president all the way down to QA. So you'll start at the top, you'll work all the way to the bottom, just building curriculum. Uh, they would love a MB in, and that's a master's in business in HR, corporate training, or instructional design, or adult psychology. Uh, must have a deep design knowledge. It can be a remote position. Team management and project management are the must-haves for the director role. And they're looking for 8 to 10 years of experience, I think.
All right. And that leads us into one of our most upvoted questions, actually. It's about years of experience. Is that a non-negotiable in most cases?
It depends on the hiring manager, to be
Mm,
honest. Um, sometimes it's non-negotiable. They have that years of experience for a certain reason. Recruiters can sway it. Talent sources can definitely sway it. The way that talent sources sway it is basically coming at it as, we've talked to all the people that have 8+ years of experience. This person has 6.5 or 6 years of experience, and they do the job very well. They're industry leader on this. They use these softwares. They are the person that you want that can grow into this role and make it better. They're innovative. Those things stick out. So, but it all depends on the hiring manager, because the hiring manager will make that ultimate decision that, do I want to take a chance with this? It's a reason sometimes why they put that years of experience out there. Maybe in previous roles that they had somebody with less experience, or maybe them themselves walked into a role where it was supposed to be like 8 to 10 years experience, and they had 7 years or 6 years, and they knew they weren't ready for that role. But every person is different. So at the end of the day, you rock out an interview and you have 6 years of experience and it's asking for 8 to 10. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a hard decision in that room unless they have a candidate with 8 to 10 years and they're just as much of a rock star as you are.
mm, I see.
um, that's when it's like, but if you have candidates with 8 to 10 years and they're just like, they're like a star player. They're not a rock star. They're no superstar, but they can hold their own. But you have a superstar with 6 years experience, I think that they can elevate into that group.
Okay, nice. So it's not a deal breaker for recruiter or talent sourcer generally, unless the hiring manager says like it's absolutely necessary.
It's absolutely necessary, and we'll bring those candidates to the forefront. Um,
Yeah.
it's just the hiring manager makes the ultimate decision,
Okay.
and his team.
Good to know. Let's see. Maybe we have time to get to a couple more of these most upvoted questions. We have a question from Elliot about how important it is to know a particular LMS. I find that they pretty much have the same features. I think we kind of touched on that with if you know a similar tool, you can kind of help bridge the gap for during the interview process, it sounds like.
Correct. That's that's the ultimate thing. I don't think you have to know a certain tool. It's just about bridging the gap and knowing that, all right, cool. I know this, and this is similar to this, because most of all these systems are the same to me. It might be a different user interface that you're more comfortable with. It's kind of like Android and iPhone. People get into battles about Android is better than iPhone. Is it really? I'm an iPhone user, so I'm biased. But it's not really that different. It's just what you like as a user. You like that you can manipulate Android more. Same thing with these learning management softwares. Some softwares you can manipulate more, some you can't. It just locks it down. So just being able to talk those pieces and how they're all similar, because it's not an app that, well, it is apps that you can't get on iPhone that you can't get on Android, but most common things you can get on both. And that way, you know, it's just figuring out those differences and being able to talk about them.
Okay. Yeah, good point. And then the final question we have is from Martha, which is kind of similar to this, and I think we're all curious to hear your take. Martha wants to learn new skills on on the next job. How do I find jobs that would consider me when I don't have those particular experiences? Some people want to learn on the job, but maybe that yeah
So, okay, I would take self development into the hand.
yeah
Um, the reason why I say self development is because it's so many free resources out here that you can use. Like LinkedIn offers a bunch of courses on all kinds of stuff that I clicked on LinkedIn one day and I didn't even know they had a course on talent sourcing. And I was like, oh, I'm going to take it because I was bored that day. And it's not a long or drawn out course. It's like a 15, like a 30-minute course with somebody talking. And then they ask you a few questions in the middle of it. Do you know what you get after you finish that? A LinkedIn certificate that shows up on your LinkedIn profile. Same thing with like taking courses with other companies. Like the library offers a lot of things. Resources that you can use to get more skills, and getting those skills before you walk into the workforce is not like it's going to be the groundbreaking thing that gets you in, but it's your ability to say, hey, I've taken the time, my personal time, to learn this, and I want to learn more at your job because I don't have it all together, but I have these basic not I have the basic knowledge base. And a lot of people who work in the job don't even take the time to take those courses, and they don't know half the stuff about the system that you would if you just take those courses. So I'll say that.
nice. So take your professional development into your own hands, take that initiative, and build some of those skills on your own time, so that when you do get into that interview, you can kind of make that case and yeah, show that you're not just waiting for the company to invest in you, you're kind of investing in yourself.
Yes, that is correct.
Great. Good point. Okay, everyone. That is the end of the hour with Max. So,
Definitely. Thank you so
yeah.
much for inviting me. I'm glad to engage with your community. Like y'all have done before, reach out. I'm
Yeah.
not going to shy away from it. I might not get to you till next week. I'm just going to be honest, so don't be mad at me. But I'll definitely reach back out.
Great. We'll share a link to your LinkedIn profile as well in the chat so that everyone can connect with you. So thanks everyone. We appreciated you coming here. Thank you, Max. I see tons of applause and all the emojis people are throwing up on the screen. So
That's
thank you for
awesome.
that, everyone, and we will see you next time. Talk to you all soon. Thanks again,
Talk to you
Max.
soon.